Ready to go? Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call to order the November 20th, 2025 meeting of the Santa Cruz City Planning Commission, and we will have a call to order, or I'm sorry, a roll call.
Commissioner Dan? Gordon?
Here.
Kelly?
Present.
Kennedy? McKelvey?
Here.
Thompson? Chair Polhamus.
Here. Are there any statements of disqualification this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to oral communications. Oral communications is the time to address the commission on items that are not on tonight's agenda and are within the scope of our charge. Is there anybody that would like to speak to oral communications tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes from October 16th, 2025, and we will await a motion.
All motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2, and this is on street sweeping, coastal permit CP 250132, and this is for continuation of the street sweeping program in perpetuity in the Natural Bridges area. So we'll have a staff report.
Hey, good evening, Chair Polhamus and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Tim Mayer, Senior Planner with the City. This evening's current agenda item is the consideration of a coastal permit to allow continuation of restrictions on public parking in support of the city's current street sweeping operations within the coastal zone. Generally, as kind of a high-level overview, urban runoff and other not what are called non-point sources discharges are regulated by the 1972 Federal Clean Water Act through the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit program. And more specifically, the city is required to adhere to the provisions of its municipal separate storm sewer system permit, or also called the MS4 permit, which is administered by the Regional Water Quality Control Board under the umbrella of the State Water Resources Control Board. And among other activities, the city's MS4 permit sets trash reduction mandates and regulates municipal street sweeping operations.
I'm sorry,
the city's.
Tim, can we pause really quick?
Sure.
And this might be a question for Lee. Commissioner Kennedy says he's like a minute out. Should we wait for him to hear the staff presentation so he can vote, or?
Sure, we could wait in that way. He'll have the benefit of that presentation as well.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll take a pause and wait for Commissioner Kennedy. And there he is. And I assume we can mark Commissioner Kennedy here, present. Wonderful. Welcome. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, absolutely. So, good evening, Commissioner Kennedy. So I just started the staff presentation of the agenda item. So we're getting into the substance. I'll start from the beginning. So I just mentioned a little bit earlier that it's kind of a high level urban runoff and what are called non-point source discharges are regulated by the 1972 Federal Clean Water Act through the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System program. That's the NPDES permit program. And more specifically, the city is required to adhere to the provisions of its municipal separate storm sewer system permit, also called the MS4 permit for short, which is administered by the Regional Water Quality Control Board under the umbrella of the State Water Resources Control Board. And among other activities, the city's MS4 permit sets trash reduction mandates and regulates municipal street sweeping operations. So the city's existing street sweeping program does serve public streets citywide to improve the effectiveness of the municipal street sweeping operations and ensure compliance with the MS4 permit. The city recently adopted a street sweeping pilot program through permit number CP 230144, originally approved by the zoning administrator in April of 2024, and a subsequent city council resolution NS 3379 in August of last year. Those two together authorize a prohibition on vehicular parking from the hours of 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. on 6 routes within 3 designated areas throughout the city for a period of 1 year. As part of the kind of the background, before the start of the pilot program, street sweeping vehicles often could not access long spans of curb area for each parked vehicle on city streets and would have to maneuver around parked cars, therefore resulting in incomplete sweeping of streets and potentially interrupting the flow of traffic and leading to worsened traffic congestion. So the City Council's action to affirm the approval of coastal permit, CP 230144, was appealed to the California Coastal Commission, which found no substantial issue, therefore upholding the decision of the City Council. However, in adopting the pilot program, the city did pledge to pursue a new coastal permit for continuation of the parking restrictions in the coastal zone beyond the one-year pilot program. So the coastal permit application under consideration this evening would allow for continuation of existing parking restrictions on city streets located in the coastal zone, included in the one-year pilot program, including Delaware Avenue, Natural Bridges Drive, Swanton Boulevard, and Mission Street. So shown on this slide are the street sweeping routes included in the areas as part of the one-year pilot program in which parking restrictions are currently enforced. The area within the coastal zone, which is the subject of tonight's hearing, is shown in red in the lower left-hand corner of the screen here. This slide shows further detail of the routes within the coastal zone included in the current one-year pilot program. And as proposed, continued street sweeping, subject to parking restrictions, would occur on one side of the specified streets on Tuesdays. That's called Route 5, shown here in kind of a teal or turquoise color. And on the opposing side of the street on Thursdays, it's called Route 6, which is depicted kind of in a navy blue color here. As proposed, the continuation of existing parking restrictions will have a number of benefits, including increased water quality, an enhanced aesthetic environment, improved public health, and ongoing bona fide access to the coast. Formalizing and making permanent the one-year pilot program will maintain efficient sweeping of city streets and uphold conformance with applicable regulations of the municipal code. The proposed actions remain statutorily exempt from environmental review under Article 19 of the California Environmental Quality Act, and categorically exempt under sections 15301 C and G and section 15307, 308, and 15061B. And staff recommends that the Planning Commission recognize the environmental determination and approve the project subject to conditions of approval as included in Exhibit A attached to the staff report and is further identified on this slide. Staff are available to answer any questions and provide additional information as needed, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, any questions from the commission? Yeah, Commissioner McKelvey.
Thank you for the presentation and implementing this. Can you give a bird's eye view of finances for the street sweeping itself, for enforcement, and then revenue from citations? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. I might defer to my colleague, Eric, for just some information in response to that. I can try to fill in whatever gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Eric Dawkins. I'm an Associate Planner 2 with Public Works Department. Regarding your question, so initially the cost to implement this pilot program was $50,000, and that was mainly for the manufacture of the signs and the installation of signs and signposts. So that was a one-time cost. So to continue this as permanent, there aren't really any anticipated future costs with the current, making the current pilot locations permanent.
I assume the sweeping costs something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sweeping still, so it operates out of the Public Works budget as a citywide sweeping. So these routes are were already swept. So including them or doing in this no parking doesn't change the cost since they were previously existing routes and were previously swept.
And that was just paid out of the Public Works budget?
Correct.
And so how, can you tell us how many citations have been issued, how much revenues come in, et cetera?
Yeah, I have some data on the parking enforcement. So from the period between March 2025 and October, there's a total of 574 warnings. So our pilot program, the first enforcement was a warning that was part of the pilot, and then the next escalation was a citation. So there was also 573 citations issued, and the base fee was $48.
And can you compare how that revenue relates to the cost of the sweeping? I mean, I know you said that it's being done already, but it seems like we're making it permanent, but is it enhanced beyond what was already being done?
Yeah, so we've been tracking other metrics, including total collected trash, the sweeper trucks. We've been tracking the tonnages and have found that in these zones, we've collected over 121 tons of trash and debris during the period between March 2025 and October 31st, 2025. And we've also been doing visual trash assessments after each sweep route and have been finding that there's almost zero trash in these gutters after this enhanced street sweep.
That's great. I guess what I'm trying to get at is in terms of a cost burden on people that are, maybe living in their vehicles or, other people that are, waking up to having these tickets on their cars. Are we right sizing the revenue, or is this intended to create a revenue stream for the city? I'm just kind of trying to figure out what the comparison is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the enforcement is part of it is to get vehicles to move. So that's part of the citations and just the standard parking limitations. So that I think that the fee's pretty standard with the rest of parking violation fees for other types of parking zones. So the main reasoning for the no parking citation is to get compliance for vehicles to move and to be able to do a effective street sweeping operation.
That's understood. I'm just trying to get a sense of the comparison. I'll just move on, but I think it's an important question in terms of whether that can be done by burdening people less with the cost. I mean, whether it's a magical number, because we're paying for the people to go out and write the citations as well. So,
yeah, and we have parking enforcement. So, and that was part of the warning. The warning piece is we wanted to give people warnings before citations to help get compliance without actually having to issue tickets, because enforcement's sort of the last resort we want to take. We actually haven't done any towing as part of this. Towing is an option as part of this. There's a towaway part to this, but we haven't done any towing because we really haven't had to. And since it's a pilot, we're trying to limit the towing we're doing. So we're trying to start with warnings in these initial base violations.
I'm just trying to look ahead to impact. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
So along the lines of the towing, how often have there been tows during the pilot?
There haven't been any tows to date.
Commissioner Kennedy.
I feel this is really effective. I see the impact down on routes 5 and 6 like all the time. I park there in the early morning to exercise, and it just really seems, not just this, but all these different things the city has tried. This really seems to be working. Like, in my opinion, there's impacts for sure, but like I've seen it in the last 2 years, really have an effect.
Yeah, and part of the impacts and the just parking restrictions in general, we tried to limit that too as well by having the limitations only be from 5 to 7 a.m. It's a pretty short window. Other places I've seen, it's a way longer window, so we're trying to limit the disturbance, and it's only once a week, so we're really trying to limit that disturbance and the parking restrictions.
I used to live in Berkeley. If you were 1 minute over, man, they were towing you. just, you know, I can't tell you, I think my car got towed.
I used to live there too, and that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
So I'm not suggesting that, but it's been very effective. Does this set a precedence for the whole coastal zone, or like, you know, let's say council loved it, wanted to do the whole coastal zone or the whole city? Would we have to go back through this whole kind of long process again, or can we just say, hey, look, it worked here, we're doing it?
I can respond to that, Commissioner Kennedy. So the answer is yes, we would have to essentially go back for a new coastal permit as part of our conversations with the Coastal Commission. The idea was any sort of substantive change to the program would require the need for a new coastal permit.
And I would just add, there is a condition of approval that speaks to allowing some level of changes. And so if you give me a moment, I can pull that up.
Well, you see where I'm going. It'd be nice to like be able to expand it if needed.
That permit says, the Director of Planning and Community Development, in conjunction with the Director of Public Works, shall be authorized to make minor modifications regarding the placement of signage or limitation of hours as deemed necessary. And then this permit shall allow for expansion of the street sweeping pilot program into additional areas of the city within the coastal zone, subject to review by the Director of Planning and Community Development in conjunction with the Director of Public Works. So there are conditions that allow for that expansion. And you know, we would be coordinating with the Coastal Commission as Tim mentioned.
Thanks.
I'm not sure who to direct this to. I just had a quick question about the timing. So during the pilot, it was 5 to 7 a.m.?
Correct.
Yes. And in the staff report, it's saying that sweeping operations generally commence at 5 and last until noon. And I'm just curious about what is going to happen there. Is it 5 to 7? Is it 5 to noon?
It's 5 to 7 a.m. Pilot wide, and the whole program is 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. in all the zones, and there's six zones.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, then we will open for public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address this item? Seeing none, we will close public comment and return to the commission for comments or potentially a motion.
I moved the staff recommendation with additional comment that it seems like everyone's gotten used to moving back and forth. And I think that's made a big difference in terms of entrenchment and kind of build up down there. Again, just through my subjective lens.
I'll second. And I would say that I go on Delaware and Natural Bridges Drive and Mission Extension pretty much 3-4 times a week when I go to Total Fitness, and the change in that area is dramatic and great as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm happy to support the motion. And yeah, Commissioner.
Could I offer an amendment that removes the towing? A fairly large, to me, for a lot of people, a fairly large ticket is something that I'm not enthusiastic about, but the towing is a whole other level, and I'm not comfortable with it personally. So
I see where you're going, and I consider it, but it just seems like a tool that might be needed, and you know, I have questions too. How many of those tickets were actually paid? Is it worth the effort? Did they all go to one guy? You know, we've had these discussions.
Yeah,
but,
and I was also thinking, well, it's a pilot program where they demurred the towing. How many people would have been towed otherwise if it had not been a pilot program and not had limitations on the enforcement? So I'd just like to.
Well, let's consider it. Like, how does staff feel about that idea?
I think really the motivation for the towing is kind of as an incentive, so to speak, you know, is kind of a last resort, like Eric referenced. And I think what I'm told from, and I'll defer to Eric here, is that without that kind of mechanism to compel for enforcement, it's a lot tougher to get people to move their vehicles if they feel like there's no kind of teeth to, the consequence.
My concern is that, like with the farmer's market that used to be here, you would just have a bunch of hovering tow trucks for that minute when the zone became prohibited. And that idea just, if this was to be extended to the whole town, I think that would be a very excessive solution.
Don't we have a safe parking program that we could probably partner with to have them move vehicles? between
Yeah,
that
we
time?
could potentially do some outreach maybe before a potential tow. But yeah, like I said, so the towing's last resort. We haven't done any tows to date. It's a typical for any street sweeping program to have the tow away in their in the ordinance, just to have that ability if you really need to. There's a big issue and you need to, for public works operations, to clean an area, you may have to move and tow a car. So that's why it's there, but it's the last resort where we're going to do citations are always going to be first. There's not going to be any.
So how many,
Oh, go ahead.
well, I was just going to ask, how many citations does somebody need to rack up before towing becomes a possibility?
I think it has to be, there's an escalation. I would have to talk to our parking program manager to see the exact enforcement there, since they're in charge of the enforcement. But I think it's typically numerous citations.
I've
before
heard
tow.
5. And
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I believe it's numerous. I don't have the exact number, but I can get that number.
So I didn't see that in the document. I didn't see that in the program anywhere. So you're saying that there are a number of citations that occurred before the towing? It's
Correct.
not just someone that, it's that time and,
No, the towing is a last resort. So if somebody's there, they would get a citation prior or before any type of tow.
does it state that in the ordinance itself, in the program?
There's some enforcement. It states the base fee, the warning, the fee, and then we were talking about doing this is in the future, like a escalated citation schedule that could be a future decision from the parking program team and public works, because right now we don't have an escalated citation schedule, but.
Okay.
But that's how the towing would work. It's the final kind of escalation after citations aren't showing to get cars to move.
Well, I would just say a lot of this was worked through with the oversized vehicle ordinance.
Oh, I know, yeah.
The kind of approach and the general approach, and working up to
But
it,
it's-
and exceptions if there's mechanical trouble, all that good stuff.
Right, but it's not saying that in here. So
But in
you
terms of
mentioned
your-
that there are, sorry?
Your friendly amendment, would you be willing to soften it to like use that as a last resort or something?
Well,
That's
I was just thinking, you said there's latitude to enact changes. Could we make it a situation where towing doesn't happen, towing is not approved under this, but if that's ineffective or becomes necessary just based on performance, that it could be enacted as one of the changes you mentioned?
There are a number of ways that you could seek to condition the permit before you. That's certainly one of them. You could also put in conditions that say, for example, warning must be issued to a vehicle before towing ensues. You could say a warning and at least one citation must be issued before towing ensues. And there have been a lot of cases related to towing of vehicles in recent years.
That's really what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, that 5 citation issue is no longer something that is happening. And if I'm recalling correctly, there have to be certain issues that are allowing for the towing. And so it's more limited than it has been in the past, just just parking tickets. My understanding is no longer just accumulation of 5 parking tickets is no longer
It
triggering a
could
tow
be
in and
zero.
of itself. So under this program, in theory, it could be 0. And because I was just scanning, I don't see a condition that specifically says there's a warning issued ahead of time. I just think that's kind of like the approach that our Public Works Department has been using. And so, that could be something that's done. I think, that introduces some tracking challenges in terms of implementation in the field. I know with our oversized vehicle ordinance, for example, we just issue the tickets, and the parking office is the one that determines if it's the first one or not. And so it can be challenging for someone in the field to understand if there has been a ticket issued for this vehicle previously or not. So it just introduces more implementation challenges, but it's the discretion of the body to recommend and include conditions of approval if you see those as beneficial to the program or the way it operates.
Well, I'll just reiterate, I'm concerned about the impact on people that, that having your car towed is a nightmare.
Yeah, I agree.
So if there's a challenge with, say, a car that's been there and it's ticketed and the sweet streeping process goes on, what's the impact, or I guess the cost to the sweet streeping situation if you just have a car just sit there and just accumulate tickets? It just doesn't get cleaned.
Yeah,
Yes?
it just doesn't get cleaned. And if a car is parked there, depending on the size of the car, the length, for a street sweeper to go around one car, it actually, like the radius, it actually misses like 20 to 30 feet. So it actually misses like 3 other spaces just due to the radius to turn back and get into that curb zone. So one parked vehicle kind of has a snowballing effect. And if you have them staggered, then there's really no radius to turn in and out of a street segment. So that's kind of the main concern, is just operation efficiency.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like trying to drive a Zamboni and slalom, cars like that seems pretty tough. Yes, Commissioner Gordon.
I just want to make sure I understand the concern, because I've also lived in urban environments where street sweeping is a very expensive endeavor if you forget. But so is the concern that there's a potential for praying, towing trucks down the road waiting for this? So is there, because I understand the importance of having something that people take seriously, that there's concerns just as a potential, even though it's not being utilized, obviously. Is there something that we can do that doesn't increase? Because also your previous question and comment was cost and using city resources to manage a program like this. So by implementing something, it sounds like it will increase, some sort of staff to manage ticketing or potential warning. So do you have any thoughts of something that might be able to, right now we don't have any praying, towing trucks like we do in those urban environments, but the potential, what you're saying is if we don't do something, the potential is there because this could extend to the entire city, right? Is that what I'm understanding? Like,
Yeah,
it's
essentially, there's nothing written in it
Right.
now that
protects.
limits anything.
Right.
If towing is possible at 0, then
Right.
I suspect it might happen.
Right. And so is there a mechanism we can put in place where private towing companies can't see this as a economic, boon for them if this becomes a citywide program, to avoid this?
But the
Yes.
pilot, it's come up 0 times in
Yeah,
6
and
months,
what
so,
I've been told
I don't
is-
think it's going to be, it might not be.
Right. But this pilot program is in very specific areas.
I got it.
Yeah, so,
I'm just saying the evidence so far.
But
is
it did
not-
have limitations on the enforcement too.
I don't know. So in
Yeah,
terms of
I don't know.
accepting the friendly amendment, I think I don't, I'm sorry to say. But I hear your concern. I think it's a good concern. I'm sure this will be adjusted. It has been year after year, kind of this whole area.
Just in which direction? Yeah.
So should this become a citywide program, we would certainly see this again. Most likely.
I think it's possible, yeah. I think if it were to go, if it were to require a dues coastal permit, that would typically go back to the zoning administrator. If it were appealed, obviously go before this body and then eventually before the city council. So it's a strong possibility that would take place.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the city council approves the parking regulations for the streets, correct?
Correct.
And so there would be a hearing associated with that and an opportunity for public comment because, one, the council would be listening to it from that perspective, as well as there would be a significant budgetary implication with respect to the signage and so forth. And so they would be hearing it from that perspective as well.
yeah, I agree with the inherent sentiment or concern, but I think in these particular areas that we're looking at, I'm less concerned because parking isn't as intensified as it is in more of the urban environments. So I would say my concern would be more in that once it gets to more intensified areas personally.
Knowing my luck, I'll get towed exercising some mornings, so I'll definitely call council for you. Should we vote on that motion on that?
Further comment? I mean, I'm personally more concerned about the trash that gets left on Swanton than anything else. That little, from Delaware down to Natural Bridges, that place, especially on the west side of the street, gets trashed after a heavy weekend. So for me, I just feel like that's the greater threat than any potential towing. Just my feeling, but. Any further comments, question?
I'll second the motion. Oh, did somebody already second it?
I did, but you can hop on too. The third. Okay. Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
McKelvey,
No.
Chair Paul Hamus.
Yes. So that motion passes with Commissioner McKelvey in dissent. Okay. Any information items from staff?
Yes, we have some upcoming schedule updates. First off, I'll just update you on a few things from the city council. The council considered the anti-displacement ordinance criteria that the Planning Commission heard last month. They heard that earlier this week, as well as the LCP Beaches and Bluffs Hazards Adaptation Chapter. And they completed the first reading of the former, and then they adopted the latter. So the latter one will be going on to the Coastal Commission for approval, and then the former, the anti-displacement ordinances, go through a second reading, and then there's a portion of those that are also within the LCP and will need to go to the Coastal Commission for approval. And
Like they're happy with them?
yes, there were some minor amendments as it related to the relocation assistance. And I believe those were outside of the provisions that the Planning Commission acted upon because they were not in Title 24 of the Municipal Code. But just FYI, there was a provision that eliminated that didn't require the city to adhere to those provisions, but the council limited that a bit more. So they limited it to instances of large rent increase according to our code, so that relocation expenses wouldn't kick in for those in light of the fact that, the city may own various types of affordable housing or market rate housing in the future. And so that was one of the key changes. And there was a small change to the definition of tenant as well, as it relates to not having individuals who are residing at the city's shelters as being tenants. So the managed encampments and so forth that we have, those individuals would not be subject to relocation expenses if they wouldn't be considered tenants under that relocation assistance ordinance. Those are the two changes that they made.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then upcoming, we do not have a meeting on 12/2, but I am hoping that we will have a quorum on 12/18 because we have a number of items that are planned for that. I will mention what those are, and then maybe we can just do a quick poll to see if folks are available. So we are looking at an overlay for the Coral Street area that would allow for various types of temporary housing. And that would be on 12/18. We're also looking at an overlay that would identify areas where 100% affordable housing would be ministerial in nature, so not requiring discretionary review to promote the production of affordable housing here. And then
Good.
that is correct. We're still working through what type of planning review that would have, and it would involve a community meeting so that members of the community have an opportunity to provide feedback and developers can respond. But there wouldn't be a discretionary review for 100% affordable housing projects. And we have a project on West Cliff that is targeting 12/18, and then I'm permitting, if we're able to get this, there are some minor amendments to ADU ordinances, particularly as they relate to junior ADUs. Excuse me. And so we're trying to pull all of those new state law changes together. And if possible, that would be on 12/18 also. Otherwise, that would kick to the new year. And we do currently have, we are not planning to meet on the first Thursday of January. That would be January 1st. We are not going to have a meeting that day. But we do have an item planned for, it's tentatively planned for the 15th. So we'll keep you posted on that. Again, as we are trying to work through and finish things up, we're seeing if that'll be available. And that's related to fee updates for affordable housing projects. So we have a provision in the code related to the potential for fee waivers, and this is updating that policy to provide more clarity both on process and on what fees would be eligible. And so that would be a change to Title 24, and so that would come before you before heading to the City Council. So tentatively 115 for that, but could get pushed out if it's not quite ready yet. So I would be interested in just a quick show of hands to see if folks are available for 12/18. All right, looks like we've got a quorum, and Tess can poll the others. So thank you for your availability. I know that's coming right up on the holidays, and it'll be it sounds like we've got a packed agenda. So thank
It's really
you.
the little ADU modifications. That's what makes it.
Well, we'll try to get that one in front of you. We want to make sure that we've got everything covered, and that also requires coordination with HCD in advance and so forth to make sure everything is lined up. So it's TBD for that one. If not, then you'll be seeing that one in the near future, early in the new year.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Any big changes coming on January 1st at the state for ADUs?
We got some big changes on July 1 this year.
Okay.
And, some other communities are seeing some big changes for some laws that aren't applicable here in Santa Cruz with respect to cities with rail transit. So there are some significant changes there, and we will be doing a update for the city council early next year. And what we'll do is we'll provide those materials to the planning commission, and if the planning commission desires, we're happy to make that presentation to you all as well. Yeah, I think a lot of, there are some important changes, but the bigger changes happened. They were wrapped into that budget trailer bill, and then we're going to be making changes like the ADU things. We'll continue to line those up in the coming year, but not as many huge ones as there have been because those got front loaded this year.
Wonderful. Cool. Okay. No subcommittee advisory body oral reports and no items referred to a future agenda. So we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.